Hi everyone, welcome back and thank you for joining us. It's episode 3 and we're chatting all things mental health, having support when you need it, and if not a PhD, then what? Hey Ben, I'm actually really glad we're opening up about this because it's such an important aspect of not just being a student or a PhD student, but actually for everyone.
Yes, definitely, especially after what a year 2020 has turned out to be.
For sure. So I guess we can start off by chatting about our personal experiences with mental health and how that may have changed as we embarked on our postgraduate degree. And would you like to start?
Yeah, I think that our stresses could even be associated directly with our study progression. So I found in undergrad, our stress was quite easy to maintain, and you perhaps weren't as aware of how intense it was. You probably just noticed it went up around exam time and assignment due date time, which is expected, but then it was quite easily managed with the holiday structure that was in place and that. But where we are now in postgrad, I think that we're much more aware of it and we have much more responsibility in handling it ourselves.
Yeah, definitely agree. And I think also if you're doing an undergrad, you've got a lot of other people in the class and your friends who are in the same boat as you, doing the same sort of workload. So in a way, you're kind of bouncing off each other. Whereas in our postgrad, we've talked about this a few times, but it's sort of on us. It's our project, and I think that puts a lot of extra pressure.
Yeah, our timelines don't quite match up as much. We're not at the same
Yeah,
point at
and
the
you
same
don't
time.
have that sort of proxy where you can talk to another classmate. You're like, hey, how are you going? What's your progress? Can you
Yeah.
help me? It's kind of just, okay, this is what I have to do. I just need to get it done.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, no, definitely. I know for myself during undergrad, I was stressed, but it was quite constant in terms of my mood. Whereas now I've noticed doing my PhD, there is, some really, really good weeks and things are going well. And then there's usually that one week where everything's a little bit more of a struggle than usual. And it's just really hard to motivate myself. Yeah, and that's just purely because of,
Maybe you needed a break, or you're
yeah,
tackling a lot that week. I think
sort of builds up.
definitely. I think recognizing when we need to take that step back, or when we need to take a breather, or even talk to someone, that's quite important. Like
Yeah,
it's
burnout definitely has been recognized now is quite an important factor in mental health. So it's good to take a step back and reflect and maybe plan how you're going to bounce back the week after, which is something I try and do.
definitely like talking to someone, especially helps put this plan into words
Yeah.
and into action. I mean, when you think about it to yourself, it's like, yeah, sure, the plan is made, it's there, but it's not. It's to yourself, and I feel like when it's to yourself, that plan has
Yeah.
a
No,
bit of
this is where I
flexibility.
have to thank you because usually you're my sounding board when I kind of make these little affirmations. I'm like, okay, now I've said it out loud to you, Ben. I'm now like more accountable.
Yeah, yeah.
And yeah, and then you can check in on me as well. Like, how's your progress with recruitment this week? You said last week you were going to do this. So
So what are
yeah,
you doing now? Come on, chop chop.
exactly. I need that little kick up the butt. In terms of like, I'm the kind of person as well. I think it depends on the kind of person and personality you have. I'm the kind of person that puts a lot of pressure on myself in everything that I do, every part of my life, even the smallest things. I kind of get really like stressed over. What's the word? Like an over worrying,
I was gonna say the
overthinking.
perfectionist, but yeah,
Yeah,
overthinking, trying to
definitely an overthinker.
yeah,
And I'm like a worst case scenario kind of person. So I always plan things and I always plan, okay, this isn't going to work out. What's going to be my plan B and C? And when things fall apart, I'm kind of still like shocked. I'm like, okay, I expected this to happen, but now, okay, it's happened. How do I deal with it? So yeah, it's very tricky being me, being stressed about the smallest things. Yeah, perhaps that's why the PhD is sort of amplified
definitely. There's a
that
lot of
stress.
responsibility on you to execute it properly, get it right.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely.
I think when we write up the plan, it's we seem to in that plan get it right on that first shot.
Yeah. There's no
um,
room for when things go wrong. But I'm such a like I love to plan everything out as well, and when things don't work out, it like affects me. How about you? Do you
I feel
plan
that
things.
too. Yeah, definitely. Even when I'm trying to plan things, I think I feel like that anxiety, that stress. I'm just like, especially the night before, I'm just like, I'm having trouble sleeping because I'm thinking through my head, I'm like, okay, what am I doing first thing? And it's just like, I feel like that night I just dream the following day.
You like having a stress dream. It's
Yeah,
like that
yeah,
anxiety just kind of builds up even before you live the day.
yeah, yeah. And then you wake up and do it all over
Yeah,
again.
that reminds me though of a saying that I came across recently. It's like if you stress and worry about something, you're putting yourself through it twice.
Yeah,
Because essentially you're living through the anxiety and then you actually have to live through whatever it is you're worried about as well.
yeah.
So I think it's something we need to constantly remind ourselves to take a step back and yeah,
Remind
try and go with the
ourselves.
flow.
Yeah, you can only do your best. You can only concentrate and do like it's not a, there's no rehearsing. You just go in there, you do it. So the more you're thinking about, you're just tiring yourself out.
100%. And you know what? If on a really bad day, your best is like bare minimum, it's like 40%, then I think that's definitely okay to admit to yourself, okay, I'm not being as productive as I usually am. I'm not feeling the best. I'm just going to ride this wave and I'll hopefully be able to pick it up tomorrow or next week and come back, like let yourself feel it
Yeah,
and
yeah.
then pick yourself back up.
Maybe even with a bit of reflection, like what was different about that day? What happened? Was it something that I can change to help prepare myself for I don't know,
Success.
yeah, success or another round of that if it's a repeating experiment
Yeah,
or
definitely. And I think it's really important to note as well, talk to the people around you. Like, don't underestimate the power of a little chat.
definitely,
It might give you just that little motivation or smile on your face for you to keep going for the day.
definitely they might have might have some good advice for you even to deal exactly with what you're dealing with.
Yeah.
They may have gone through it before. They may have I don't know, even a shortcut or a bit of
Mm.
advice. It all helps
Yeah,
even just
definitely.
talking about it.
Yeah, listen to your body. Like, if you need a break, like, as well, definitely try and take
Try and
it.
fit one in.
Fit one in, yeah,
Yeah,
somehow, even if it's like an hour or a day, like a mental health day.
yeah, yeah.
So that kind of brings us to like coronavirus and the lockdown because that was earlier this year. How did that sort of affect your mental health, if at all, during that time period?
I found that very challenging to be honest because I feel like we're being exposed to quite a few different kinds of stresses and different challenges, but this one was the most unique. Like obviously, like you don't go through
Yeah.
one all the time.
But
Like you
and like
just
we're in WA, we're in Western Australia, so we're actually luckier than most,
yes,
like especially on the eastern side of Australia. So we kind of had come out of everything a lot earlier than them, and our number of cases weren't as dramatic and high.
yep,
So
yep,
even though it's challenging for us, it's hard to imagine what it would have been like for people in
yeah,
other parts of Australia and the world.
yeah, definitely. They're still going through what we were going through. They were
Yeah.
still confined to home, limited with what they can do outside the house. And with their work as well. Like you already mentioned with your recruitment that had to be put on hold. All I remember about my COVID lockdown was trying to set up remote access to a computer on campus, and that was an absolute nightmare.
Did that end up happening?
Yeah, on the first week I came back, it happened
When
on the
you came
Friday.
back?
Yep.
Convenient.
Oh, that was frustrating and stressful because I couldn't do anything about it. But all I could do was talk to people at the university about it and like how frustrating and what I'd tried. And I don't know, I like to think I know my way around a computer, and it was just
Yeah. No,
frustrating to
you're a
know
pretty
that,
techie
yeah,
guy.
it's just,
So that was
ah,
frustrating. In terms
yes.
of your mental health, sort of that kind of, did that make you feel down or kind of useless in a way, helpless?
Yeah, it made me feel both useless and helpless because I couldn't progress anything else, and it was only that was that was my lead. I was chasing this lead for
Yeah,
what 2 3
right.
months, and
So how did you sort of keep productive in terms of your PhD during that time?
I tried to do some writing, do some reading, and but I just found like that feeling of uselessness and helplessness was actually quite overwhelming.
Yeah.
So
And would you agree that it kind of puts you into this cycle? So it's like, okay, I'm being unproductive or I can't really do much. And then you get into this cycle where you feel guilty about it,
yes.
guilty about being unproductive. And then you feel like it just goes around and around and around.
Hmm.
And it's just so vicious.
Yep, yep. I think you know what? I'll take a 5 minute break, a half an hour break. Take that break just kept me in longer. I was just like, I'll have lunch. I'll go outside. I'll do
Yeah.
this. I'll go for a run. I'll do something at the back, and then I'll come back to it. But it's just through the whole time, that guilt never left. And then coming back, it just got amplified because I'd wasted that much time and nothing had
But it's
changed.
not like it was your fault. Like there wasn't really anything you could do. But yeah, that just goes to prove that guilt cycle, the effects of that guilt cycle.
Yeah,
I mean, for me, I was, recruiting. So essentially I couldn't do that. And I had to keep busy other ways as well. So in a way, I can relate to that feeling of helplessness and being in that cycle where it's like, okay, I should be doing something. What can I do? There's nothing I can do. And then you kind of just go back and forth. But I will say that um, despite its challenges, lockdown was actually um, something that I felt like I needed in a way. It was like a break. Like you kind of just, everything stopped, like you couldn't go to work, things were limited, a lot of restaurants and places were closed. And it was just like a step back and it was just like a space for you to breathe. And in a sense, it was just so refreshing to just take
yeah,
like a moment to just like pause in time.
yeah. Take a step back. I wish I'd done that instead of trying to fight it, but
Yeah.
it's difficult.
No, I loved it. I like rolled out of bed, rolled on the couch, and then worked from home. And then I could, be in my pajamas or have my snacks. And, I would go outside, go for a walk. Like it was just, yeah, it was really nice. And then it was so good to hear about, levels of pollution going down,
Hmm.
mountains that have been covered by pollution in, certain countries, were visible again,
Yeah,
waterways were clearing up again. I was just like, this is so amazing.
yeah. It's actually when you mention this now, coming back to work. I remember first day I came back into work. There was barely any traffic on the roads, and everyone was working from home. And I was just thinking,
There was
I
heaps of
wonder.
parking.
Yes, yes. I was just, oh, I thought maybe this will be the change. Maybe this is the beginning of a new page where a lot of people are working from home, you know, not only because of COVID, but because of the positive environmental outcomes we're seeing now. I mean, I thought
Yeah, I'm
there's
sure a
so
lot of
much
people
good
would
coming out of this.
appreciate the flexibility and yeah, it
Hmm.
just frees up a lot of parking and space on the roads. But
Yeah,
on that note, a couple of weeks after we came back, like we noticed that more and more people were coming back, and then there was more and more people on the roads, less and less parking spots, and now everything's kind of back to normal here, isn't it?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Definitely. Oh, I thought of another downside actually during the lockdown, in terms of our project, because we were kind of stalled, and a lot of other postgrad students were probably in the same boat. But a lot of things were up in the air. Would the university grant us extensions for our project? Because it was a good 3 to 4 months
Yep.
um,
Maybe even
delay
longer
to
for
our
some
project.
people.
Yeah.
Yeah, I, depending where it interrupts in your project as well. Some people may have been away from their project for longer, depending on where their holidays might have fallen or where they were in their project, or if they're waiting on particular ethics and people weren't meeting anymore. I mean, we've learnt from the COVID experience that Zoom meetings
Oh my gosh,
aren't all
Zoom
they
meetings.
aren't all that they are cracked up to be.
Yeah. We tried to have like a weekly Zoom meeting, didn't we, Ben, with our supervisors and some of the other colleagues in our lab just to do like a little catch up on what everyone's been up to in the during the week.
Yeah,
And I think we kind of did the first one as like an informal, okay, just a catch up, how's everyone going? And then our supervisor wanted to kind of continue it on every week.
yeah, yeah.
How did you find those meetings?
Bit of a mix. I felt they did keep us accountable, but I didn't find that this helped with those levels of guilt and
Stress.
usefulness. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was good in keeping my mind on track and trying to think about what was next, but I couldn't do anything.
Yeah, no, it definitely like induced some anxiety. It's like, okay, how have I been spending my time? What do I need to report to them like this week?
Mm,
And at the same time, feeling guilty that sometimes there's not much that you can do.
yeah,
But in saying that, I'm really happy that I tried to do little things like, those online courses you can do, like,
yeah,
basic statistics or how to use Excel. So I was still kind of doing things that were as much related to my project as possible, reading,
yeah,
writing, all that stuff that you don't really usually have time to do for as well. So that was good as well.
definitely time well spent.
So So we've covered a lot about our mental health and how that's changed maybe during our undergrad and postgrad, and some of the troubles that we had during the coronavirus lockdown sort of period, which was quite tough. So our next question is, is there anything that you do to stay sane and not be completely engulfed in your studies?
I've been trying to keep a somewhat regular gym schedule. This has kind of always been a bit of a challenge for me, especially during undergrad and then transitioning into postgrad. I've been trying to go first thing in the morning. And
5:30 a.m.
yeah,
Oh man,
I know.
props to you.
It's followed by actually no, it wakes me up, and then by the time I get to work, I need a coffee that wakes me up again. But I just feel like it breaks up my day, and it gives me that. No,
Mood lifter, that bit of energy.
yeah, definitely. It gets me going, keeps me moving, and it feels like I do something else other than come to work every day. Like if I didn't have that, I'd come to work, go home, sleep, come here, go home, sleep, and it's just like that cycle. I just didn't
Yeah.
want to have that cycle.
Definitely. And like mental health and physical health are linked as well because your brain will release, those happy chemicals when you exercise, right?
Yep,
Do
yep.
you find that when you exercise on days where you go to the gym in the morning, you feel a lot more productive and happier?
I do, I do. I feel that coffee in the morning is not as important. If I don't go to the gym, I feel tired and I feel sluggish all day, and not to mention the guilt that you feel for not going to the gym.
Oh my God, yeah.
Um,
So, no, I definitely agree. Like before the coronavirus, I was actually doing like an 8-week challenge at my gym with like a few friends, and we had like these boot camps every week, and every time you go in, you like collect points and things like that. And I was doing some swimming as well, like every week. And then we had 2 to 3 weeks left of the challenge, so
oh my
I was going to the
goodness.
gym like 4 or 5 times a week on a good week. And then when everyone kind of went into lockdown and the gyms had to close, my whole routine like fell out the window. And I'm a little bit ashamed to admit I haven't been able to jump back on that bandwagon, like even a few
Yeah.
months now down the track. But my gym membership is starting back up and I'm actually going to yoga tomorrow. So that will be my first class back.
There we go. Oh, I remember that actually. Just before the COVID, before the end of your challenge, we had our first competition on our Apple Watches.
Yeah.
That was a
I
rough
won,
time.
everyone.
You did.
And I think you still owe me lunch from winning that challenge, don't you? Well, haven't you
Yeah.
said anything about it? Pretending you forgot, huh?
I was doing so well.
Yeah, so apart from the gym, staying healthy and fit, is there anything else that you like to?
I try to keep up with some hobbies. Like even if they were hobbies from a long time ago, I felt that it's something that you can distract yourself with. Maybe distract is the wrong word there, but enjoy and not be worrying or thinking about work so much. I mean, sure, you may find that doing a hobby, you come up with a solution to one of the problems you've been having at work. But
Yeah,
I
different
think it's
perspective.
definitely, but I think it's a good way to unwind. So like, I guess Netflix and chill counts, but like,
Oh yeah, Netflix is so
yeah.
good.
I used to be really into photography, so I try to re-familiarize myself with some of the editing and stuff like
Nice.
that.
What kind of photos do you like to take then?
I used to take a lot of landscape,
Okay.
yeah, and I like architectural, but I don't know,
A bit more specialized?
it's more specialized.
Like getting the angles and the shadows over the buildings, I'm
Yeah,
guessing. Yeah.
yeah. I also got quite into drone photography and videography.
Drones.
Yeah, but I actually got rid of my drone. There was just a lot of worries and concerns about regulating it, and I just thought I don't want to be caught in the middle of a fine
Yeah.
or something.
Is that like certain places you need to apply for a license or something, right,
Yeah.
to be able to fly a drone?
Yeah, yeah. You need to apply for permits, especially if you go like national parks.
Yeah, right.
I registered my drone at the time, and I was probably at the point where I was going to try and go away and start doing some of that. And having a drone registered is a good. It looks good to on your application.
For sure.
Yeah. But I never got that far.
Yeah.
I ended up falling out from
You should
it.
take your own advice. Get back into some of these hobbies.
Yeah. Yeah, no, definitely. Well, we started the podcast. I guess that's a hobby now.
Yeah,
as
we
well.
definitely had this idea pre-COVID, didn't we? And then it kind of, in hindsight, we could have used some of that lockdown time to really get into it. But yeah, we haven't had a chance until recently. So
We took a break, didn't we? But yeah.
Yeah.
What about you? What do you do to unwind and keep
Yeah.
yourself sane?
I mean, let's face it, a PhD and a postgrad can be very consuming. Like you're thinking about it all the time, even if you don't realize it. Like, you were saying you kind of dream about it sometimes. So I think it's very important to switch off and engage in things that are different or outside of this sort of world that we're engulfed in. And I think it's largely due to COVID, but I've been trying to like do lots of different things that maybe I wouldn't normally have time to do or even thought about doing. So during COVID, I started Duolingo. So do you know Duolingo is a language learning app?
I've heard about it. I think I've
Yeah.
seen an ad for it once or twice.
Yeah, it's
But
the little owl, the little green owl, and you can learn lots of different languages on it for free. So during lockdown, I actually started learning Spanish on Duolingo, and I haven't checked today, but I've been trying to do it like about 5 to 10 minutes every day just to get that vocab going. And I think I'm on like a 193-day streak now.
oof.
That's 193 days in a row. So I'm pretty proud of that. It's small, but it's consistent, and yeah, it kind of just like on a lunch break or if I'm taking a few minutes out of my desk work, I can just sort of, you know,
Wow.
practice my Spanish.
Nice.
I've also started learning Korean. I don't know what it is
Oh my
about these
goodness.
languages, but so these Korean classes started after lockdown. So we actually go to a center and learn, and we have like a native Korean teacher as well. I didn't want to do it alone, so I dragged my mum out of all people with me and a good friend from high school. So we kind of started doing that together, and it's been like you get homework and stuff, so it's a little bit added to the workload, but because it's something different to my PhD, I find it like I'm still doing the homework and it's still productive, even though,
It's a different kind of work.
yeah, a different
It's
kind of productive.
yeah. Wow, you were really ready for this travel ban to go
Oh my
down.
gosh, yeah.
Spain and then
Let me back
Korea.
out there. And I started reading again. Like I was able to pick up a book and spend some time reading again. And yeah, that started this year. Like a good colleague of ours in our lab, he will kind of do like a little book swap with me. So he'll like leave
Aw.
like books at my desk that he thinks I would be interested in reading. And they're kind of like sciencey books or kind of like mostly nonfiction as well. But after I'd finished a book, a few weeks later, he'd like leave another one at my desk, and the books have been really, really interesting as well.
That's really cool. Do you want to tell us about a book?
Oh my
Do you have a
gosh.
favorite so far?
Let me just try and think back. There's been a few. So I think he led me like a book about like how vaccines and stuff started being developed. So that was an interesting one to read, especially around the lockdown time because everyone was going on about a coronavirus vaccine. So that was really, really interesting. There was one that I read about a doctor. It was written by a doctor, and he was talking about his experiences as a junior doctor in like a hospital in the UK. So that was interesting as well. And recently I read this book about this chimpanzee. I think I've
Ooh.
like told you about it a few times,
Yes.
but it was called I think it's called Nim Chimpsky, and it's a chimpanzee, and they did like this experiment back in the 19 something somethings where they raised a chimpanzee with like they took it away from its mother when it was like 2 weeks old, and then they raised it in a family of humans because they wanted to see whether they can teach the chimpanzee sign language. And I think you can tell that didn't really have a good ending for the chimpanzee. But yeah, no, that was a really good book, and it highlighted, a lot of issues with research and ethics, back then, and we've definitely come a long way now.
Yeah, 100%.
But yeah,
Ethics is a big part of research, whether or
Yeah.
not you involve animals or
yeah,
even, if,
definitely.
especially with humans. I mean, yeah.
What about you, Ben? Do you read much?
I haven't actually. I've found it difficult to. It's actually interesting you raised that point. I caught up with an old friend. He's towards the end of his PhD. He's actually doing edits on his thesis at the moment. But we had dinner maybe a month ago, and we were talking about reading. We used to both read quite a lot, and we were both complaining, I guess, in a way that we don't have the same motivation to read because by the time we finish a day, we've already been reading papers, we've been reading this, we've been trying to closely
Yeah.
follow things, and it's just like you don't feel like you want to read anymore. You just feel like you're just
It's like
exhausted
your
from
brain's
reading.
like shut off. You can't
Yeah.
like process the words on the page. No, I
Yeah.
can relate.
Yeah.
I probably read mostly on like the weekends as well. If the sun was shining, I'd go outside with like a drink. I'd sit in the sun or, try and absorb some of that nice weather and yeah, read a couple of pages.
That
And then,
sounds so relaxing.
yeah, I think as well because the weather is improving, I should get back into reading again. So if
Mhm.
anyone has any good book recommendations, let us know. I'll definitely be interested in reading, a lot of different books this year.
Yeah, don't be afraid to drop a comment on any of our Instagram accounts
Yeah,
or send us
recommend your
an
favorites to
email.
us.
Yeah, maybe
Yeah.
we'll give you a shout out even.
And we were talking about Netflix before. Are you watching anything interesting on Netflix?
I'm watching How to Get Away with Murder,
You're a
actually.
bit late to the party on
I know
that.
it's been in my list for so long, and I don't know. I had motivation about a month ago. Just randomly, I was on the couch one Saturday morning. I was just like, "What am I going to do today?" I was like, "I'm going to watch that." I don't know why. It just randomly came to me.
And you're hooked now, aren't you?
I am. I'm partway, nearly. No, I'm actually just over halfway through season four. Season four, season five.
Mm.
Oh my goodness.
Wow. No,
Oh,
we've watched a fair bit in a short amount of time. Let's put it that way.
yeah,
I
yeah.
actually recently watched a documentary a few nights ago that I would highly recommend to people if they haven't watched it yet on Netflix. It's called My Octopus Teacher.
Oh, I added that to my list actually
Yeah, you
yesterday.
haven't seen it though?
I haven't
Okay,
seen it
watch it
yet.
over this weekend because I watched it and it was just surreal. Like, it was beautiful, like underwater kind of landscape, and then this octopus had this really special relationship with this human, and it just really blew my mind how special like that was. I won't give any more spoilers, but yeah, towards the end, I was like bawling. I was like
Yeah.
crying. Like, it was just.
The,
Anyway, if you haven't watched it, watch it to find out why I was crying like a baby.
the relationships we can develop with
Oh
animals
my
is just
gosh, it was amazing.
heart wrenching.
Makes me want to be a vegetarian too.
Oh. So we've spoken a lot so far about our own personal experiences with mental health and how we can keep ourselves sane and help keep a healthy mental state. What kind of support is there available to students? I mean, what kind of channels can we utilize?
That's a really good question, Ben. I think as students, it's really important for us, and we're not necessarily always aware of this, but I think your university should be the first point of contact, so your university or institution, I should say, because there are amazing counseling services that are available, lots of financial support available, even things like how do I borrow a book from the library or search a journal article online. There are lots of people who can help you with that too. Things like disability support, sexuality, guild as well for all other student issues. Definitely the first place to start.
Yeah.
Where would you go else apart from that, Ben?
There's supervisors, your even not a present supervisor, like a previous lecturer. Did you have a favorite lecturer or one you just naturally clicked with? I mean,
Someone you're comfortable opening up to. Definitely reach
definitely.
out to them.
I
I
think
think.
key
Sorry
word
to
there is comfortable, I think, as
Yeah,
well.
comfortable for sure. If you don't feel comfortable speaking to people face to face, what could you do, Ben?
I would recommend an online counseling support. I've actually utilized this channel myself. I found that, I don't know, the idea of going to see someone, especially
In
someone who
person?
falls under the counselor sort of category, I found that very real. It's very confronting when you try and go there. I think that
Mm,
if you want to, you can just, you could be at home, you could be in your comfortable clothes, you could be in bed wherever be in bed, just be comfortable, and then you can really open up. I mean, if you're not comfortable, you're not going to talk about what's really bothering you.
yeah, definitely. And I think for students getting stressed, or if you have other things going on, family issues and things like that, a lot of these things you think you can handle, but eventually they kind of build up inside, and then sometimes you don't realize how they're negatively affecting you until maybe other people point out, or you're realizing you can't cope every day like you used to be able to, and everything becomes like a struggle. So definitely important to talk to your tutors, your lecturers, unit coordinators, and I think for us PhD students, master students, if you're comfortable enough to talk to your supervisors, they should probably be one of your first few points of contact as well. And I'm really lucky. I have really nice, understanding, amazing supervisors. And my supervisor Nat, I actually have, like, when she's in every week, we kind of debrief, catch up, have a little, how are you going, or have you been, tracking on. Um, and she'll kind of talk me off whatever ledge I'm on for that week, and I'm like, okay, well, we'll have this exact same conversation next week as well. So put that in your diary. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's really helpful, even just talking about things and putting them out there. And you're like, I haven't been as motivated to recruit this week, so I've been doing other things instead. Just things like that. And if you are having issues with your supervisors themselves, so that's a little bit tricky, but
Yeah.
where could you go if you're having trouble with your supervisors?
You go to your graduate research coordinator or whoever's in charge of your postgraduate course or faculty. Like it may not even have to be faculty specific. If you have issues, you can reach out. You can approach someone a bit higher up, or you don't even. I don't think you have to mention names, but they give you some professional
Yeah.
advice.
I think the key here is if you're having issues, open up and talk about it. And that could be a little difficult for people who don't like opening up and sharing things. But I think you definitely need to,
I think even in some situations there may even be just like a general brochure or a web page or a PDF
Yeah.
on your university website that would give you some of the information that you perhaps are looking for.
Yeah. And don't underestimate the power of just talking to your friends as well, like your social group, your friends, even your family, your parents, people outside of the field that you're in as well. Get a different perspective,
Yeah.
and, definitely pets. Like if you have any pets are actually really good for mental health, So, Ben, do you have a pet?
I don't.
I know you really want guinea pigs, don't you?
I really want a guinea pig. A lot of you are probably like, what on earth? Why would you want one of those?
They're
But
like oversized rats. They're like, sorry, no
they're
offense.
like, I don't know.
You find them cute.
I find them cute, especially when they get a bit fat. Like, I don't know. Some people like them when they're babies. I really like them when they're a
They're
bit
scary.
older. They're like clumsy, lazy little animals, though. But they have energetic outbursts, and then they get really tired.
You
and they
should
just
get them
plop.
anyway. You'll probably need them in your last year.
my therapeutic guinea pig.
Yeah. No, I think that's a good point. So university supervisors, other tutors, and if you're not comfortable seeing people in person, you could go online, and there are always links as well
Yeah.
that will provide to Lifeline. Lifeline just 24/7. There's also a texting service that they provide if you're more comfortable texting someone. And yeah, definitely see your GP if you're struggling. They can always refer you to people as well. Hey Ben, a PhD is not without its struggles, but have you ever thought about what you would be doing if not a PhD?
Yeah, there's definitely times when I've looked back and wondered what if. It's actually interesting that we're on this topic this week. Before I went to my honours year, I attended a information session and almost went into Masters of Pharmacy.
No way.
So instead of, I guess, taking the research route, I would have gone and become a pharmacist. But then I was thinking maybe, pharmaceutical research would have been cool. But then I don't know if I would have been well equipped or prepared to enter that area.
Why pharmacy?
I don't know. I thought it was interesting. Like this is going to sound weird, but the drugs and like knowing about them, like the effects, like there's a lot to know. There's a whole world outside. Like you go through your degree learning about how the human body operates and like how all your systems work together. But then
And how like certain drugs also interact with each other if you're not aware of what you're taking.
yeah, definitely,
Super cool.
definitely.
And like, what did you want to be when you were younger? Like when people used to ask you,
I wanted to be a heart surgeon.
a heart surgeon.
Yeah, like
Okay.
specifically a heart surgeon.
I love that it's still so sciencey, like all of your answers so far.
Yeah, I mean, there's actually another option. So as my postgrad research went on, I considered the idea of becoming a medical imaging scientist, like a medical imagist, or radiologist. Like you look at
Medical scans like X-rays, CTs, right?
yeah, or even MRIs, PET scans. I thought that would be a pretty interesting career as well.
It's not too late.
Yeah,
Not too
that's
late to
true.
start something.
That's true.
No, you may as well just finish this. You're like a year away from finishing.
Yeah, maybe afterwards. Who knows?
Yeah.
But what about you? I mean,
Oh
surely
my gosh.
you've had your doubts and
I'm one of those people that have never known what I wanted to do when I was younger. You know how some people are like, oh, I want to be this when I'm older, and they end up actually being whatever they said they wanted to be. My answers changed like every year. I was like, I want to do something different, and I never knew like what I wanted to do. I think to this day, I still don't really have a concrete idea of what I want to do, so I'm kind of just taking each day as it comes. But when I was younger, I wanted to be a singer, and then I realized that I can't sing. So I probably shouldn't do that. And then I wanted to be a tennis player because I really like tennis. And then I was like, by this stage, it's probably too late to, get all the coaching I need to be good. So let's scrap that idea. I just play social tennis, tennis for fun now. Um, and then I wanted to be a limousine driver because I was obsessed with limousines at one point. And I was like, I'm just going to drive celebrities around town. Like, I could totally do this. And then I think from our carpooling sort of afternoons home,
Oh
you'd
no.
realize I wasn't that great of a driver either. So I probably shouldn't do that. But yeah, and at one point I wanted to be an astronaut. Like I was just so obsessed with space. I'm like a space nerd. Most of my friends kind of know that about me. But yeah, and then you have to move to NASA. So I don't think that would end up happening. Wait, we have our own space agency, don't we? We have the Australian Space Agency. But anyway, physics and all that and maths and that would never work out.
Yeah, but take your own advice here, it's not too late.
Yeah.
Who knows, maybe when you finish your PhD,
Oh my
you
gosh.
want to
Yeah, but in
go
terms
to
of like
space.
another degree, like you were listing quite logical things. You were like, oh, okay, maybe a heart surgeon, okay, maybe like a medical imagist, and then I'm like, no, I don't really see myself doing anything. It's just like a stroke of luck that I'm here doing this right now.
No.
But yeah,
But
yeah, we'll just see how it pans out
yeah, there's certainly a lot of doors that can be opened after this.
for sure.
So that brings us to the end of the episode. Next week, we'll have our first guest on the show, Miss Nikki Vandenberg, who is a master's student from the Netherlands, and she'll be talking to us about her exchange experience, her travels around Australia, and what it's like to be so far from home. We'd love to have you back. We'll see you then. Thanks for your time.
Gracias por escuchar. That means thank you for listening in Spanish. Adios.
Bye.
If you'd like to get involved, drop us your questions and your queries. Let us know what you'd like to hear on the show. And you can find us on our Instagram at So You Think You Can PhD. And there's a link to our email there as well.